As far as games go, TF2 handles balance in a unique way. Instead of changing the fundamental class, Valve usually focuses on the unlockable weapons each class has. This is different from a lot of games, but also gives TF2 a signature style and flow of the game, where even if you know the class you're up against, you can't foresee what they might pull out to kill you with. It also gives Valve some liberty in updates, and instead of having to add new characters to introduce new mechanics, they can just make a different weapon, which is why you get some weapons like the Thompson and others like the Vaccinator. Sometimes Valve slips up and releases a blatantly overpowered weapon. Then when they try to fix it, they end up completely destroying everything good about it. That's what I'm looking into today. You can kind of see this video as a sequel to my first overpowered weapons video, but you don't need to watch that one to appreciate this video. Anyway, let's get into it. The reserve shooter used to be an insanely broken weapon. Back in 2014, the reserve shooter's stats looked like this. It had half the clip size, but gave an all-around switch speed buff. It also had the attribute of mini crits on players who were in the air. Now you may think, that sounds pretty situational. Why is it so OP? Well, it punished you for any airborne movement. Rocket jumps, damage surfing, falling from ledges, and even jumping. If you had a single molecule of air in between your feet and the ground at any time, it would deal mini crits. As you can imagine, this thing was completely busted. Since mini crits don't have fall off, but still benefit from ramp up, you could kill light classes in one shot. Imagine being a scout using your core mechanic, double jumping, when all of a sudden a pyro or soldier just randomly insta-kills you. Eventually in Tough Break, they nerfed it into a much more reasonable state. Instead of being airborne, you had to be forced into the air by something to get mini crits, even air blast. This still allowed pyros to retain their combos while giving everyone else the leeway to actually jump. The reserve shooter was a good side grade for any pyro that actually had a brain. Then Jungle Inferno rolled around. Valve changed the reserve shooter so it wouldn't benefit from air blast. This is pretty much where the reserve shooter's streak as a good weapon ended. It went from a combo weapon that paired well with the degreaser to a weapon that punished explosive jumping, which I guess is still good, but not nearly as useful. Speaking of jumping, have you ever wanted to ditch it completely? If so, the Babyface's Blaster, or BFB, is for you. But if not, don't even bother. When it was first added, well, I don't know, I didn't play back then. But after 2013, it added a 10% speed penalty, along with a smaller clip. The special thing was the boost meter. Basically, the more damage you did, the more boost you would gain, which would increase your speed up to 170% movement speed. This was a reasonable penalty, and it set the Babyface's Blaster very high on the list of scatterguns. It was a good choice for any scout who wanted to run really fast and weave in and out of battles. Some say it was in need of a nerf, and some didn't. But no one really wanted the degree of destruction Valve brought upon this weapon. In Gunmetal, they changed the boost lost on double jump to 75%, which is way too much. Moreover, if you took damage, you would also lose boost. Guess how much damage it took to lose all your boost? 25 damage. 25 freaking damage. 25! It's safe to say the BFB is not a very good weapon right now. However, it is still a scattergun, which means it's not too bad. And it isn't even close to the worst Valve has done to a scout weapon. The Sandman is the worst downfall of a weapon in TF2. No other weapon has suffered as much as this one. The Sadman used to be one of the most overpowered items in the game. It would disable your double jump, and in exchange, you could throw a ball. That's it. This ball would completely stun and immobilize anyone who you hit. Even Uber players would get stunned. Then they changed the debuff to the scared state that happened when you lose a round. This was a reasonable debuff to inflict, considering the downside and the small projectile. Then, in Jungle Inferno, Valve completely lost their minds. They turned the Sandman's stun ball into a slightly inconveniencing ball. It would slow the enemies down a little bit, in exchange for a minus 15 health penalty. You can literally negate the slow by strafing. What is the little bit of slow that you apply ever going to do? Out of all the weapons I covered, this one is the most saddening. The Sandman is such an iconic weapon for Scout, and also an achievement item. It is the baseball bat. The fact that it is the worst Scout melee doesn't really help. If this weapon was given a little love, I think it would rise up the ranks pretty fast, as it's a nice concept for a weapon. There are a few weapons I considered, but decided not to put on the list for one reason or another. The base jumper was never a good weapon, but Valve decided to nerf it anyway. Same with the Bison. The extinguisher used to be pretty OP, and I will retract what I said in the last video. The first version was a little broken. Same with the Ambassador. If they just toned down the nerfs they gave to this weapon, I think it would go a long way. If there's anything you should take away from this video, it's that Valve is really inconsistent with which weapons they keep overpowered and which weapons they nerf into the ground. If a weapon is OP, either it will stay OP or Valve will basically make it unusable. That's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you think I missed a weapon, which I probably have, comment down below and I might just make another video. Thanks for watching.